All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Monday, November the 17th. It's a meeting of the Finance Committee. And the purpose of the meeting is to take up docket item 321-25, which is our tax classification item. And as usual, though not mandatory, the plan would be for finance to make a recommendation on the residential and commercial tax rate this evening, if at all possible. And then we will report it out when the full council meets a little later this evening. So having said that, Maureen, am I starting with you or am I starting with Jim?
Mr. Chair, if you could start with Jim, please.
Okay. Mr. Shaughnessy, if you could introduce yourself and then do your presentation, then I'd appreciate it.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? All right. I've got a brief PowerPoint presentation, kind of explain why you're here, show you a couple of interesting facts, then I'll answer any questions that you guys have. I'm gonna have to share my screen if that's okay with Cassidy.
You're all set to share, Jim.
Okay. So this is the fiscal 26 tax classification hearing. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the people in the office, those people who are out there watching, listening. They make my job very easy. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So thank you to the best staff that I think in City Hall. I'd also like to say thank you to John Micah in the print shop for printing and assembling the classification booklets that you either have in front of you or we sent out the PDF document. So what are we doing here today? We're gonna get back to that later on. So we're gonna go right to this, which is obviously, as you know, Newton is predominantly a residential community. And just the single families and the two families make up almost 80% of the total assessed value. All the residential values make up 92.23% of the total assessed value for fiscal 26. So that's pretty large for residential property. Obviously, if the residential makes up 92.23, the commercial, industrial, and personal property make up 7.77% for fiscal 2026. Here's a little history of the single family sales and I'm only showing you 10 years. If I showed you 16 or 17, you'd see the median price going up every year. And if you're wondering when the height of the market was for single families, we're in it right now. Calendar 2025, the median single family sells for $1,850,000, which is up from last year's $1,750,000. And that's through September of this year. And again, that's what they've done since 2016. So from 2016 till now, it's probably about a 65 to 70% increase. So if you bought a property in 2016, you're doing well. If you bought a property in Newton ever, you're doing well. I wish I did. Here are some interesting single family sales numbers. Almost 90% of the single family homes sell for more than $1 million. For those of you that have been here for a while, we used to start out with a lower number here, but there just aren't any. So 89.29 over $1 million. And here are a couple that I really think are impressive. A little over 61% sell for more than $1.5 million. 42% of the single family homes sell for more than $2 million. And here's a new one here this year. 18% of the single family sell for more than $3 million. So if you own a Newton property, you're in a very lucky class. Here's a couple of quick sales that kind of give you a flavor of things that have sold in Newton. Here's the lowest sale we had in 2024, sold for $443, a little 780 square foot house on 1,200 square feet of land over in Nonantum. Single family home in West Newton for $1 million. As you can tell by the fence around it, it was demolished shortly thereafter. and they took out a $600,000 building permit to build a new house. So $1 million tear down in West Newton. $1.5 million at Old Oak Hill, 15,000 square foot lot. This was torn down and an $850,000 building permit for a new house was pulled. And that's not even the average house yet. $1.5 million is, remember, the median sale is $1.850 million. Here's what a median single-family home is selling for. This is actually a little bit larger than normal. A typical median single-family home is about 2,000 square feet on about 9,000 square feet of land, and that's what's selling for $2 million. $2.5 million in Chestnut Hill, 12,000 square foot lot, 3,100 square foot house, and $2.5 million sale, and they pulled building permits for almost $200,000 to renovate after they paid $2.5 million. Down in Old Oak Hill Park, $3.1 million for a new house built in 2023. And again, for some of you guys who've been here for a while, if we ever said there'd be a $3 million sale in Oak Hill Park years ago, you would have said you're crazy. Well, they're happening all the time now. And here's one of the higher end sales in 2024, West Newton Hill, a little over an acre of land, almost an 8,000 square foot house, sold for $9 million. So that kind of gives you the range from $443,000 to $9 million calendar 2024. This was 2 to 4 Los Angeles Street, sold for $114 million in November of 2024. Little commercial on the first floor, apartments above it. New apartment building on 777 Winchester Street, the 2 Life building. This picture was when it's still under construction. As of we assessed as of January 1st, 2025. So it certainly wasn't complete then. So now we'll get back. What are we doing here tonight? Tonight, you're going to decide what residential factor you're going to use to determine what shift you want to put onto the commercial properties. And historically, 3 of the last 5 years, you've shifted 175%. What does that mean, shifting 175%? So the residential value makes up $41 billion, which is 92% of the total value we talked about earlier. If you shift, and that means the commercial is 7.77%. If you were to shift 175 tonight, although they make up 7.77% of the total property value, they would end up paying 13.6% of the property tax that you guys approved for the budget back in April and May. So clearly, if the commercial, industrial, and personal property paid 13.6, then the residential property that makes up 92% of the value would end up paying 86.4% of the tax. So you're shifting a burden onto the commercial property. This is nothing new. It's been done every year for as long as I've been here, and I think probably since Proposition began, and Proposition 2.5 began in Newton years ago. So if you have the booklet near to you, or this will tell you what the residential factor you'd be voting on tonight. And if you were to shift 175%, the residential factor would be 0.937074. In theory, you'd be shifting 174.68%. And that's because when the tax rates come out, you're either 19.69 in 1806 or you're 19.69 in 1807. There's no fractional. And if we were to shift it 175% exactly, it would put us over the levy limit. So that's the first option that didn't put us over the levy limit at 175%. And clearly the other ones speak for themselves as well, what the various tax rates would be. So this is what you're voting to do tonight. And if you vote the residential factor of 0.937074, the corresponding tax rates would be 969 and 18.06. And the excess levy capacity, which Maureen will probably talk about, is how much you've gone to the actual levy limit, because you'll never get exactly to the levy limit, again, because of rounding. So this is the page that kind of tells you everything you need to know. And page 22 and 23 summarizes that entire book, so that if you're opening to that, you'll have everything you could possibly need in that little section of those 2 pages. So with that, I will take any questions that anyone has. I will stop sharing my screen unless somebody wants me to leave it up there.
We can go back to it, Jim, if we need to.
Okay.
What I want to do before we ask any questions of Jim, I believe Maureen is going to obviously make a presentation. But I also, which I should have done in the beginning, is take care of attendance. Present at the start of the meeting from Finance, Councilors Greenberg, Maliki, Gentile, Humphrey, Bixby, Grossman, Lipoff. We have some guest counselors here this evening, Council Larry, Lucas, Princeman, Oliver, Albright, Downs, Kalis, and Baker. And we also have 2 counselors elect. So we want to recognize Jacob Silva. Welcome, Jacob. And Sean Roach. Sean, you're welcome to come inside the rail. Councilor Lipoff's seat is available. Councilor Downs is available. If you want to grab a seat, please come in. Okay. Now I want to turn it over to our CFO, Maureen Lemieux. And when Maureen is done, we will see if there are any questions or comments. Maureen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly a huge thank you to Jim Shaughnessy and his team. I think we all know we have perhaps the most respected and capable assessing department anywhere in the Commonwealth. So my big thanks to Jim and his team. So I would turn your attention to page 22. For anyone that has their books with them, I will walk through the few decision points. Some years we have a bit of a difficult time deciding should we do 173, 174, or 175. This year, I would say to all of you, it's really an easy decision. Our recommendation is to go with the 175, which the vote ends up being the 0.937074. There are a couple of different things that we look at very carefully when we bring this recommendation to you. So the first thing on page 22, the first place that we start is the excess levy capacity, which is a solid 2/3 of the way down the page. The lowest levy capacity that we miss out on, if you will, because of the tax rate is 18,757. Much lower than the other potential choices that you have in front of you. So that certainly makes 175 look good from that perspective. The next thing we do is we take a look at what the impact is, the tax dollar increases and the tax dollar percentage increases. Clearly, if you take a look at, if we go to the percentages first, I think that's where it is most obvious. If we were to go as low as the 170, the single family tax rate increase would be 5.22%. If we go to the 175, it's 4.75%. That is the lowest that we can get the single family tax increase. And then if you look at the other categories, it's important to see that commercial tax increases would only be 3.46. Industrial tax increases are actually a negative. And so that clearly is the best grouping of percentages between all 4 groups. And then if you look at the tax dollar increases, which is just above that, you can see that, again, that median single family tax dollar increase is $66 less than the 170%. Now, we've never gone to 170 in my time here in the city. It's always been a conversation between 173, 174, and 175. But I think this year, hands down, for all of the different reasons why we analyze this, the 175 is absolutely what our recommendation would be. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm more than happy to start. Oh, the one thing that I do want to mention is when you look at the tax rate increase, the overall, if you go to the very top, the tax increase approved, the 19,472 and $116. I just want everyone to know that within that 19, almost 0.5, 1.7 million of that number is the debt that we are including from the new debt excluded projects. So Countryside and Franklin. And so those two projects end up making up 0.4% of that 4.0 of that 4.42%. So if we did not have the debt excluded projects, it would be a 4.02 overall tax levy increase. And that, certainly includes our new growth and the 2.5%. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands there's $1.7 million of new money in next year's taxes that are strictly as a result of Countryside and Franklin. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm finished.
Okay. So let me come back to the council and see if there is, well, I want to see if there's questions first, and then we'll do the public hearing. But thank you. It's always good to know that you're there and willing to help. I appreciate it. Are there any questions? Council Maliki and then Council Lucas.
Thanks. Yeah, I was wondering about the Franklin and Countryside, where that showed up, because the 2013 debt exclusion was mentioned in the write-up on one of the earlier pages, I think page 2. So it seems like of the voter-approved debt exclusion, 5,412,542. 1.7 million of that is the new ones, and the rest is the old ones. Is that right?
If I may, Mr. Chair, no, the 5.4 is inclusive of all of them. Now, that's not all the debt service that's coming for the new projects, but the 5.4 actually includes the 2013 and what we had sold so far of the 2023 debt exclusions. And actually, I believe Jim Shaughnessy adjusted the booklet that's online and adjusted page 2 so that it actually says that it's both 2013 and the 2023.
Oh, great. Thank you. And the other question I had, and this might be something I've forgotten from previous years, but when we look at the total levy limit, and we're allocating it over a universe of properties, do we first take out all the properties that are tax exempt, or do we apply it as if we were going to tax them, and then we just don't get to collect that money from the tax exempt properties? That makes sense.
They are not into the equation at all. They're tax exempt, so there's no calculations with them whatsoever.
Okay, so we're getting the full amount of the tax levy limit from the properties that are taxed.
From the non-exempt properties, yes.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Council Lucas?
Thank you, Chair. I'll reserve my comments till after the public hearing.
Okay. Anyone else want to have a question right now? Council Leary?
I was just wondering about the payment in lieu of taxes. Does that get involved in this at all, or is that completely different?
This is not involved in this whatsoever.
And if I can just jump in, the couple of payment in lieu of taxes that we received, one in particular is from Boston College. That money just goes straight to the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? We've been joined by Council Farrell. All right, at this time, let's open up the public hearing. Let me start with folks that are here in the chamber before I go to those that are online. Is there anybody in the chamber that wishes to testify this evening? If you could please just join us and give your name and address for the record.
Sorry about that.
all right.
Alex Chabon, 42 Capitol Street, Nonet. Good evening, counselors. My name is Alex Chabon, as I said, career finance professional and a member of the Newton Financial Audit Advisory Committee. I'm here to strongly urge the council to maintain the maximum 175% tax shift onto commercial, industrial, personal property for fiscal year 26. It is the most fiscally responsible and fair choice for Newton at this time. First, let's remember why the Commonwealth allows us to have a split tax rate: to alleviate the burden on homeowners in communities like Newton. We're primarily a residential city, as already said. And if we were to reduce the CIP shift even slightly, we'd be asking our homeowners to pay significantly more. The trade-off currently does not make sense to be subsidizing commercial landlords when our residents, many of whom are seniors and families on tight budgets, are already facing hard conditions. Meanwhile, our business community in Newton remains relatively strong and well supported by our city services. Under 175% shift, the average commercial tax bill only went up about 1% last year, if I remember correctly, and many commercial properties actually saw tax decreases because of soft market values. Further, commercial delinquency rates for office loans have actually reached double digits, surpassing the amount that we saw during the economic recession. This could further have impact on those rates like we saw last year. The 175% shift is with what in the state law permits as fair, and we have used maximum or near maximum shift for many years now. It has helped our residential tax rate be one of the lowest in the area for a city with our services. Let's continue this prudent practice. Commercial property owners benefit from Newton's excellent infrastructure, public safety, and proximity to Boston. It is reasonable to ask them to pay the 1.75 times the single rate, which they're still contributing only to about 14% of the total levy. Even though we shift the max, they can handle that share, and it's only fair to our residents to ask them to do so. I want to emphasize revenue stability here. With the challenges in the commercial real estate market, we have about a 15% office vacancy rate, if I remember correctly, from the ZAP meeting back in July. The worst move would be to lower the commercial tax rate and further reduce revenue from that sector. The city needs every dollar it can to levy capacity and maintain services. By keeping the full 175% shift, we ensure that we're capturing the allowed revenue from businesses, and it protects our ability to fund our schools, public safety, and public works without over-relying on homeowners. It's a balanced approach, and it takes this that safeguards us as we navigate a very uncertain economy. But finally, and I think very importantly, I want to stress that supporting the maximum shift does not mean that we are anti-business here in Newton. On the contrary, I believe Newton can and should continue to support our businesses to improve permitting, cutting red tape, smart zoning, and other economic development initiatives. We want businesses to come to Newton, to stay here in Newton, and to thrive here in Newton. That will help us continue to expand our commercial tax base and help everyone in the long run. But giving up residential tax relief now in hopes of a short-term boon to business is not the answer. It has not worked in the past. It will not work in the future. The city can work on attracting new companies, repurposing vacant offices, and fostering growth without sacrificing the tax fairness that our residents dearly need today. In closing, the 175% shift is the right policy for Newton's fiscal health and for fairness. It keeps our tax system progressive, in line with the ability to pay. It secures the revenues that we need to run the city well, and it aligns with our long-term strategy to expand the commercial tax base the proper way, through growth and not through unwarranted tax rates. I respectfully ask the council to vote for the maximum allowable shift once again this year. And Mr. Chair, wish you the best in retirement, and thank you for all you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to speak that's in the chamber? Okay, we've been joined by Councilors Lobovitz and President Laredo. Is there anybody online that wishes to speak at this time at the public hearing? I don't see anyone. Do you? All right. So if there are no other speakers. Oh, I didn't acknowledge you? Shame on me. Counselor Kelly is also here from Ward 3. Sorry. Since there is no one else asking to speak, I will declare the public hearing being closed. Counselor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Shaughnessy and Ms. Lemieux for your presentations and work. Mr. Shaughnessy, I think you said for the last 3 or 4 years, the council and the mayor have recommended the 175. I think during that same time, I have always recommended 170, the exact opposite, because that is the most favorable tax rate to business owners. And respectfully, I'm going to vote that way when this comes to the full council. So if the committee recommends 175, I will vote against it at the full council. But thank you anyways for the work that you do. I appreciate it. I'm all set.
Okay, Counselor Humphrey.
Just going to make an actual motion in favor of the residential factor of 0.937074, which is also known as the 175. I think we've covered the reasons at this point relatively well, but I'm certainly happy to hear from Councilor Grossman on that if she wants to elaborate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the motion, moving it along. Is there a second? Okay, Counselor Grossman seconds it. Does anyone want to speak on the motion or anything else that we have heard this evening? It's all fair game.
I give it a third.
Okay. All right, so there is a motion on the table to approve the residential factor of 0.937074. And as Councilor Humphrey said, that equates to a shift to the 175% factor. In committee, we can take this. So this is just for the Finance Committee right now. And then there'll be a roll call when this is reported out. So in Finance, we can do this on a voice vote unless there's objection. All right, so all those in Finance that are in favor of the motion from Council Humphrey, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, then I have that the item is approved by a vote of 7-0, correct? All right, so then I would adjourn the Finance Committee, and we're due to start City Council at 7:45. So you got a 10-minute break, I should say, not a recess, because we adjourn. Thank you all for getting here on time. Appreciate it.